Welcome to Sema na Spox. Sema na Spox. And this is the 24th edition of Sema na Spox. Kenya itainuka, Kenya itasimama, Kenya itanawiri kwa umoja na uzalendo. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo. Je, wewe? Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima. Now, there have been people who have been complaining about the payment of teachers. No, those people who actually invigilated the exams, but the government has now been able to give 1.5 billion shillings to clear delayed allowances for thousands of teachers and officials who administered the 2025 national exams, ending a 4-month payment delay. The Education Cabinet Secretary, Julius Ogamba, has said that new measures are in place to ensure timely future payments, reinforcing the government's commitment to supporting education for everybody else. Another key thing is that the head of the public service has directed a sector-wide reset emphasizing zero tolerance on corruption and improved investigation, stronger coordination, and citizen-centered service delivery when he addressed a high-level virtual meeting with all the Kenya security agencies. And also, further to it, the government has set aside 2 billion shillings for reduction of the debt of 6.8 billion in the coffee sector and another 2 billion shillings in the sugar sector, because this sector has got a debt of about 10 billion. And these monies will also go to pay arrears for the staffers in the sugar industry. Further to this, it is also important to note that now we have a new app in the tourism sector. The CS for Tourism, Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, has launched a Tourist Tap, a digital payment platform designed to create a seamless cashless experience for visitors across Kenya. It was developed through a partnership between Craft Silicon, KCB Group, always KCB. Our bank always comes through for us, even in the G2G arrangement, and Visa. The solution allows tourists to easily pay for accommodation, park entries, and local crafts. It is important to note that this will support 1.6 million jobs, and this initiative is a vital step towards modernizing the sector. And you can see now the integration of technology. Recently, I happened to have visited there in Wasini Island, and it was very clear. We've been able to adopt models like the ones for Mauritius, where you only pay at one point and you get seamless tourist products. That's very commendable. And further to it, you can see that our tourism sector has actually grown by 9%, international arrivals from 2.45 million to 2.7 million, and local tourism has grown by up to 5.2 million because of the free visa, and people also, sometimes not just going to the village, they are taking holidays. So last year we had 7.9 million, tourists coming to this country, and that is highly, highly, highly commendable. Noting very well that our numbers were, 1.48 million international arrivals just, the other day, and we are diversifying the tourism program. But today, we are here to speak about something that is affecting everyone. It's about the fuel prices. How much are you going to pay at the pump? And what is it about G2G? What is this G2G? Je, ni kizungumkuti ama ni nini? Kwa hivyo leo hii tuko na mkurugenzi mkuu kutoka EPRA, Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Engineer Kenywa, atatuambia zaidi kuhusu ni nini hiki ambacho tunaweza kufanya ama kuelewa mafuta yanakadiriwa kivipi. Kuna gesi ya kutosha. Hii EPRA ni nini? Tunaisikia every 14th of every month. Wanafanya nini? Wametufanyia ile kitu ama kuna kitu ambayo wanaweza kutuokolea kidogo? Tupiga makofi tusikie kile ambaye ataenda kutuambia. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Thank you.
Feel at home. Hiki ni kipindi cha Sema na Spox, Bonga na Gava. Sasa unaongea na Gava. Si ndio? Gava ndio hapa, na namuona rafiki yangu hapa ambaye nilikuwa namuona nikiwa mdogo sana. alikuwa anatusomea news. Anaitwa Mudibo. Ako hapa Norman Mudibo in the house. Thank you very much. I'm happy to see you. So, Mr. Engineer, tuambie wewe ni nani, what's your name, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Mwaura. My name is Engineer Edward Kinywa. I'm the Director in charge of Petroleum and Gas at the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. As the name suggests, we basically are charged with the responsibility of regulating energy and
No,
petrol.
before you come to what you regulate, hiyo ni baadaye. Who is Engineer Kinywa? Where did you grow up? How did you end up becoming an engineer? People need to hear those stories. Hii unajua hii program ya Majenzi. Waelewe ulifikaje hapo.
Okay.
Wacha kutuambia mambo ya EPRA yote tutakuja baadaye. Kwanza tukujue ni nani, umetoka wapi? I mean, yes.
Okay. Asante sana. So, professionally, I'm a mechanical engineer. I graduated in 2005.
Lakini ulienda shule wapi high school?
From Moi University. I'm a Nyeri High School alumni.
And primary school huko kunaitwaje hiyo village?
School, of course, you know my names. There's schools in the villages. I school in the village.
No, let's hear that name.
There's a school called Mathingira.
Mathingira. Makofi kabisa. Yani you came from Mathingira all the way to EPRA.
Yeah, and actually I studied hard, Daktari, because I was the best boy in that zone.
Wow. That's amazing.
We did in 1994.
1994.
Yeah.
Yes.
I fell short of joining Mangu High School by about 4 points. So I ended up at Nyeri High School.
Which was still a very good school.
Yeah, but that didn't, of course, deter my dreams of becoming an engineer. As a small child, I think even my parents realized I had a lot of interest in vehicles. I remember the first time I came to Nairobi. When we went back to the village, the only story I gave is that I saw 1 million of vehicles. And, it's at that point I thought, I think I'm more fascinated with machines. And with time, the interest developed until now I got to my professional career of being an engineer.
So that is to mean that your interest started from just wanting to know how a vehicle operates.
Yes, I was really fascinated. I used to watch Safari those years. When
the days of Patrick Giro.
Yes, so I used to
and Ian Duncan.
I used even
and you and Kankunet.
I used even to pretend that I was one rally driver. I used to do my own race with him.
Oh my goodness. So very interesting. The dreams are valid, eh?
Yes.
So fast forward. So you went to the University of Nairobi?
No, I went to Moi University.
Moi University.
Yes.
University of Nairobi now ingine. And then you cleared after that, then you joined government immediately?
No. I worked for the private sector. I started as a quality assurance assistant training engineer at a place called Mabati Rolling Mills.
Okay, Chandaria.
In Mariakani.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, I applied my technical skills in the quality department.
Yes.
That was in 2006. Then I moved in 2007. I moved now to the oil industry. I joined Total Kenya Limited, as it was zoned then.
Okay.
I joined in
now it's
Mombasa.
Total Energies, eh?
Yeah, it's Total Energies because they are diversifying to more sources of energy apart from petroleum.
Okay.
So I joined them as a lubricants officer in Mombasa, basically charged with the issues of blending lubricants. So I know all these engine oils, all these hydraulic oils, all these transmission oils. We used to blend them. We used to then plan for logistics for distribution. I think those were the days of a company called Agreco, which was doing emergency power production somewhere here in Nairobi. I remember I used to have an order of 60 drums of lubricant to that company every Monday morning. So whenever it fell short, because those engines never used to stop, that's one of the most stressing jobs I've ever done. Because raw materials, sometimes they get late, because when you're doing a loop, you blend a base oil and some additives, and you import all these materials. So from Total, then I moved to their LPG plant in Nairobi.
So you understand LPG?
I'm more versed with LPG operations. That's where I got my, and I also happened to deal with some depot operations concerning the other fuels. Then from there, I joined the regulator. So I've been at the regulator since 1st of February 2010.
Wow,
so that's
a long time.
About 16 years. So
wow.
I have
Hapo ni mambo mazuri kabisa hapo. Nafikiri ni jambo nzuri kabisa hapo kwa sababu ya vile ambavyo tumefanya. Let me ask you. You know, so from the interest of a vehicle to now lubricants to LPG and now oil prices, you are the one to tell us. People may not understand. You've been in EPRA since 2010. I think it used to be called ERC, Energy Regulatory Commission. And now it is EPRA. what does EPRA do? What is the mandate? You know, because it's important to understand this body that we fear every time. 14th of every month is an EPRA day.
Yeah, EPRA is an institution that has metamorphosized over time. Since 1998, when the Electric Power Act was gazetted into law, it used to be Electricity Regulatory Board. Then in 2004, we had the session paper number 4 of 2004, which of course basically gave rise to the Energy Act 2006. So the Energy Regulatory Commission is a creature of the energy, that session paper number 4 of 2004. So by 30th December 2006, it was assented into law, and ERC became operational in 2007.
Okay.
So initially, the Electricity Regulatory Board was only doing technical and economic regulation of electricity subsector. And then the mandate of petroleum downstream was added in December 2007. And then somewhere in 2019, you are aware that we also had new acts of parliament, the Petroleum Act and also the Energy Act, which now changed our name to the current EPRA, Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority.
Okay.
And basically what happened is that the mandate of upstream petroleum was added to us. Initially it was with the
wait, sasa we engineer. Kizungu nyingi sana. What is upstream and downstream? Wajua unaweza kutuambia kama ule jamaa mwingine alituambianga kwamba ati the river can move upstream. What is upstream and downstream? Elezea kidogo. Ama Gen Z hawaelewi hiyo maneno ya upstream.
So the petroleum sector is divided into 3 subsectors. So we have upstream, midstream, and downstream. What we have asked most with is the downstream operations, because we are distributors and consumers of petroleum in Kenya for a very long time. So this involves marketing, storage, and transportation of finished products. But there's also an upstream part, which we have now entered to recently. All of you have heard about Gulf Energy, ENPBV. You've heard about South Lokichal at least. You know that we discovered oil sometimes in March 2012. So that is what we call the upstream sector.
Okay, so that getting the fuel from the oil.
It is the exploration,
yes,
then development, and production of the oil.
Okay.
Then once you get the oil out of the ground, then you transport that crude using a pipeline. So the pipeline now forms part of the midstream.
Okay.
And then it goes to a refinery, then it is the refining process is done, then you get the finished products that you use in your stations. So those are the 3 sectors.
So downstream is now the finished product.
Yes, the finished product. So there you've
Nafikiri hapo ni
differentiated.
tumesoma, si ndio? Tumeelewa hapo kidogo. Now, so now for EPRA, now it deals with all of those 3?
Yes, we basically now we actually regulate now from upstream, midstream, and downstream. So we are the ones who are licensing and also approving the field development plans for upstream operations in the South Lokichar. I know you are aware that recently in February, Parliament ratified the field development plan for the South Lokichar Basin. So that is part of our job.
But you can explain that, because sometimes some of these things don't come out very. What did Parliament do?
So if you look at the Petroleum Act, a contractor who has discovered oil, we have 50 blocks in Kenya.
50 of them.
The country is divided into 50 blocks. So if you have a block of oil daktari, so and we have given you a license, basically we call it a production sharing contract. You've signed a production sharing contract between yourself and the government of Kenya. If you discover oil and you determine that it's commercial quantity, then the law requires that you develop a field development plan. And this one is a plan of how your commercials and the technical will basically intertwine, so that you can be able to get that oil out of the ground. And then we are able to look at what are the proceeds that you'll get out of that oil, because it's a profit share that you will have between yourself and the government of Kenya. Basically, the resource belongs to the government of Kenya. However, you've brought your capital and your expertise. So the government tells you employ your capital and expertise, and then we share the profits. So that is the entire plan. And then when you get the oil out, are you going to refine it locally? Are you going to export it as unrefined? So you look at the commercials. When you look at the commercials and determine I'm going to export crude, then that also constitutes part of that plan. So once you develop that plan, you submit it to government, you submit it to EPRA. EPRA looks at it for commercial and technical compliance, or if it is viable technically and commercially, and then it is sent to the minister, who in turn sends it to Parliament for ratification.
Very well. So now let's come now to when do we expect to commercialize our oil?
The field development plan having been ratified by Bonga, it means now that the contractor Gulf Energy and PBV has a green light to start development. So they plan to drill their first well in July this year.
Okay.
And we are looking forward to exporting or having barrels coming out of the South Lokichal by 1st of December 2026. So going well, first quarter of 2027, we might have our first oil export.
Very good. Makofi kabisa hapo, hiyo ni kitu ambayo ni nzuri kabisa. So that would mean what are the reserves that we are looking at, so that tusikue na hii mambo sijui nasikia Strait of Hormuz, I don't know what. When will we have our own oil?
So what the contractor does after a discovery, they must do what is called an appraisal of the field. So they have done appraisal and determined that we have about 429 million barrels. It may not be a lot, but this is only dealing with 4 fields. Remember, the discoveries we have is in 10 fields. So there is still room for more appraisal, so that we can be able to see whether that resource will go up. I'm very careful with between the word reserve and resource.
Okay.
Because if I tell KRA here that we have 429 million barrels of a reserve, immediately they'll walk to Gulf Energy and book it as tax.
Yes.
So we call it resource. It is fully noted.
429 million
barrels.
Okay.
But
and how much do we consume in a day?
Well, we are looking at over 100,000 barrels in a day.
So that would last, if at all you were to get the whole reserve or resource, it would last us for how long?
So that now you'll have to divide the 429 million.
But it's a lot,
but of
it?
course now, when you refine the crude, you know, will not get, you'll get different fractions. You will get a fraction of diesel, a fraction of petrol, and then you'll also get a fraction of the black oil.
Okay,
so
now
you have to determine how much of diesel we'll get and all that, so that you
now,
can do that.
Let's come now to the real issue here. We have the whole issue of G2G. We're importing now because that time is futuristic. What is this G2G? If you can tell us in a nutshell. We've seen people making noise around that issue. They are still talking about I don't know what. So what was there before? What is currently they're obtaining? And just explain to us and how you do the pricing of the various commodities.
So G2G means government to government. So it's a short form of government to government arrangement. So initially we used to have an arrangement which was called the Open Tendering System Agreement, where we used to have marketers who are licensed by ourselves tender for supply of products. So they were buying that product in the spot market. And then when they bring the product here, then the marketer who brings it on behalf of the rest of the market, then the rest of the market has 5 days to pay that importer. And that importer is paid in dollars. So it means in a month, we were getting out of this economy about $500 million.
Every month?
Every
month.
That's
a lot of money.
Which is a lot of money. And I can shock you because none of that is government money. It's out of government balance sheet. So the oil companies you see here, those are ladies and gentlemen, because financing that kind of investment and looking at the returns they get, sometimes you get surprised if yourself or myself could invest that kind of money. So that spot purchases and conversion of looking for dollars within 5 days had caused a very big strain on the economy. Because
tell us, what is this spot purchasing? Maybe people should understand that.
Spot purchases means you don't have a long-term contract. You go out there, you get the product
in the high seas.
Yeah. So in the
it's like hawking.
So in the international market. So whether it's in the Middle East, whether it is within the Europe or it's within Singapore. So you get it out in you don't have a long contract with Dr. Moora. You just go and approach him. Can you sell me a cargo of diesel? So he will give you the price today, which we call a spot price. Yeah. So it had put a strain on.
That's where the word spot coming from.
Yes. It had put a strain
on the spot. Hapo ndio hii.
Yeah. We buy. It's like the way you go buy something on the street. You walk into a shop, there is no long-term contract. So, but there's a difference with someone who can have signed a long-term contract for supply of a certain good or service.
So what this 500 million, what was it doing to our economy?
So it had put a strain on our forex, and because you remember sometimes in 2022, because the US Fed rate was very high, so there was a mop-up of dollars from the frontier markets, because the investors in the West, because of the risk that frontier markets pose to their investment, so they opted to go back because the return was very good. So it means that the dollars here in these markets, including Kenya, were less. And here you are still getting out of your economy $500 million every month. So the dollar became scarce. So you get marketers wanting to pay for the product, and maybe you need $2 million. Then you go to the bank, they give you $100,000 or even $1,000. So you go to 10 banks and you have 100 marketing companies. So the banks think there's a lot of demand for dollars. So that artificial demand used to drive the rate up. And at that point is when we had reached at about 166 shillings to the dollar.
It was very, because of that demand.
Exactly. And you could find a vessel, we call them vessels. This is a ship that is bringing products to Kenya. Some of them would get stuck in the port of Mombasa for between 14 and 21 days.
So it was very untenable.
Yeah,
that's creating now shortage.
So that affected security of supply. So when you ask whether this petroleum that has been imported, you are shown a lineup of ships. But when you go to the stations, you find it is a dry station. And then that was creating a lot of tension. The other thing that was causing is the marriage. You pay about $31,000 if you are holding a ship in Mombasa for a day. You can imagine holding a ship for 2 weeks, how much money. And all that money is a pass-through. So I will pass to 1 inch here. So the longer the ship stays, the more they pay for it. So it was creating an inefficiency in terms of added cost, and also it was causing a security of supply issue. And it's that point that His Excellency now charged his economic team and a group of technocrats, including ourselves, including the institutions of the banks we have, what can be done so that we can have a delayed system instead of having this spot payment of 30 days. They were issuing a letter of credit for 30 days. Payment was within those 5 days. So letter of credit, you issue it from the time the ship loads. But remember, the ship takes 10 days to get to Mombasa. And it takes another like 3-4 days to offload. So by the time you start paying, so it was a very short period. So this is where now they came up with this suggestion of delaying that payment for 180 days.
So from that to 180?
Yeah.
From 1 month to 6 months?
Which now would give government leverage so that these dollars can be used in other sectors. Remember, these dollars were not only competing for fuel. We are net importers. You import vehicles, you are importing drugs.
Even clothes.
Even food sometimes.
So actually, our food import bill is over 500 billion.
So it had become a national issue.
And then every month you need 83 billion or so. At that point, at the rate of 166. Getting out of the market, $500 billion.
Exactly. So now that freed the dollars to other sectors of the economy, even as now fuel was delayed in terms of payment. And of course, there's a whole very complex mechanism that was put in place, that the shillings that are collected for fuel payment, because now we changed our mode of payment for the fuel from dollars to shilling. So the importer collects shillings from you. But remember, at the 60th month, this is the 180th day, they'll pay the supplier out there in dollars. So there's a whole system of unwinding. First, you can even invest those dollars in treasury bills, and then you start unwinding them until maybe the 180th day. And then you are able to honor that LC. And that gave us a breathing space so that we could now see dollars inflowing into the market and the rate stabilized. I think from 160, the high of 166, we went down to gradually, now we are at 130. Who knows today? Probably if we went ahead with that system, continue with that system, today we could be probably at 200. I can tell you.
Actually, that's where we were going.
I can tell you, Daktari, I was shocked in 2024 at the invite of the leadership in Malawi. I think they had met His Excellency somewhere in New York after the UN General Assembly, and they wanted to understand what did Kenya do to get out of trouble. I found vehicles queuing for 2 kilometers
for fuel.
For fuel, because there were no dollars in the market.
Let's hold our thoughts there. We take a break. This is Sema na Spox. When we come back, we continue with that conversations. Keep it right here.
Hii ni taarifa rasmi ya serikali kutoka ofisi ya msemaji wa serikali ikikuletea muktasari wa maendeleo muhimu, miradi na ushirikiano wa kimkakati unaoendelea nchini Kenya. Bajeti ya nyongeza ya mwaka 2026 imeongeza uwekezaji katika sekta ya usalama, elimu, makazi, afya pamoja na uchumi wa bahari ili kuimarisha maendeleo ya taifa. Rais William Ruto ameonyesha mafanikio ya mpango wa nyumba za bei nafuu wakati wa kongamano la miji la Afrika lililofanyika Nairobi. Ushirikiano wa kimkakati kati ya Kenya na Ufaransa umeimarishwa kuelekea mikutano ya Africa Forward na G7. Rais amewasilisha mpango mkubwa wa kuibadilisha jiji la Nairobi wakati wa hotuba yake katika bunge la kaunti ya Nairobi. Mahusiano kati ya Kenya na Marekani yameimarishwa zaidi kupitia ushirikiano katika biashara, usalama na uhifadhi wa mazingira. Mradi wa Nairobi Arena unatarajiwa kubadilisha eneo la katikati ya jiji kuwa kitovu cha kikanda. Serikali imetenga shilingi bilioni 1.5 kuboresha hospitali za kaunti ya Nyeri kwa miundombinu ya kisasa. Naibu Rais Kithure Kindiki ameangazia maendeleo ya miradi katika eneo la Mara, kaunti ya Tharaka Nithi. Kenya na Morocco zimesaini makubaliano 11 muhimu yanayohusu biashara, afya, elimu na uwekezaji katika mkutano wa JCC uliofanyika Nairobi. Serikali inaendelea kuimarisha uratibu wa sekta ya afya ili kufanikisha huduma ya afya kwa wote. Katika kipindi cha Sema na Spox, Bonga na Gava, mkurugenzi mtendaji wa Konza amesema miji huo uko tayari kwa wawekezaji wa ndani na kimataifa kutokana na miundombinu imara ya kidijitali. Waziri Kipchumba Murkomen amezindua eneo la utawala la Nuhu na juhudi za misaada ili kuimarisha usalama katika kaunti ya Kitui. Kukamilika kwa barabara ya Ngong Suswa kunatarajiwa kuimarisha biashara na uchumi wa kikanda. Kenya imezindua mtandao wa kisasa wa maji taka kusaidia usafi wa mto Nairobi na afya ya umma. Kenya na Umoja wa Mataifa wameimarisha ushirikiano katika masuala ya usalama na ujenzi wa amani. Utafiti wa kitaifa wa jinsia na kupambana na ufisadi wa mwaka 2025 umezinduliwa ili kuimarisha uwajibikaji katika utumishi wa umma. Serikali imetoa tahadhari kuhusu matangazo ya ulaghai ya ajira katika shirika la reli Kenya. Konza Technopolis imeonyesha maono ya Kenya ya miji mahiri katika kongamano la miji la Afrika. Kenya na Morocco zimesaini makubaliano ya afya ili kuboresha udhibiti wa magonjwa na upatikanaji wa dawa. Hiyo ndiyo taarifa ya serikali kutoka ofisi ya msemaji wa serikali. Hadi wiki ijayo, jina langu ni Rahab Adhiambo.
Welcome back to Sema na Spox. Sasa tuko hapa tunabonga na Gava. So, engineer, you were telling us about Malawi and how they approached you to kindly go continue with the.
Yeah, I think Daktari, I saw for the first time a queue of 2 kilometers of vehicles, waiting for fuel, and it doesn't matter what kind of vehicle you drive. When the fuel is not there, it's not there.
Yeah.
So you leave.
Whether you have a Prado or a tuk-tuk.
You leave your Range Rover, and you leave the keys with the station attendant, and then when fuel comes, it's them to drive the vehicle because the whole town was in chaos. Terrible. And because they were running out of dollars. It's the same problem we were almost getting in.
Especially around April of 2022.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is why
14th of April there.
Yeah. To be able to take them through how the G2G system came into being and how it works.
So we are actually a best practice.
We are best case practice. And I believe today, apart from the small shortages that were there, you've not experienced people carrying jerry cans. I think in 2022, you saw people carrying jerry cans for the first time in many years. And I think this G2G has really served in terms of security of supply and also assuring us of a lower cost.
How much were we paying in subsidies then during that time of?
By the time the new administration came, there was a bill of about 45 billion.
45 billion?
That was pending.
Quite unsustainable, yeah?
In fact, that bill was later converted into a bond.
Really?
Yes.
Well, it could be.
Because it had to be unwound.
Yeah.
And here we have a problem of dollars. So I think it was an ingenious way of government paying it out.
Okay.
But I think you've asked a very important question of what was working before and how we transitioned to the G2G. Initially, we had that an open tender system whereby we used to do a tender every month and people used to go out in the market. In the open tender system, there's a figure called a freight and premium, which is now the small profit of the importer plus the transportation cost of the cargo from wherever it's coming from. That figure was a floating figure, just like the product cost. And today, if we speak about today, because of the crisis we have in the Middle East, we've seen what is out in the market. For freight and premium, we are looking at figures of about $300 to $400 a ton. Today, the G2G that we have, which some people are talking ill about, we are enjoying a premium of $84 a ton, fixed. Very so you can imagine, apart from exposure to the high product prices, you would also be at the mercy of the ship owner and also the trader out there.
Interesting.
Because you see, they would now be making a profit of from 84 to 300 or 400.
Wow.
Yeah, plus now the additional product cost. So that would have hit our palms massively. And I think we have to thank the system that we have, the government for the system we have, because now it is a fixed premium and freight. So that, and we have long-term supply relations, so that the international oil company out there, regardless of where their refinery is, if there's trouble within their refinery, they look for alternative routes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have to bother about that.
At no additional cost.
Okay.
We have
Wow,
signed
very
a contract with them.
Yeah.
So they are going as far as getting product out of India, out of Europe, because when they can't pass through the Strait of Hormuz, or there's a problem at the Red Sea, they have to go and serve. They have a contract which they have to serve. I think when you see people talking ill, and unfortunately, because of the way news move, you know, these are international companies. Aramco is not a small company. It's a company listed at the New York Stock Exchange.
Oh, wow.
So these are big
It's
companies.
not just a local company
Yeah,
somewhere.
so which basically track news and negative information. You can imagine somebody doing that sacrifice, and then they say they find people talking ill at this thing does not work, it's a scam. It's very discouraging.
That's true.
Yeah.
So now, people would ask the question about the local companies that are involved in the G2G.
Yes.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so the way the arrangement happens, we have international oil companies. We have 3 of them. They are owned by governments out there.
Maybe you can mention them.
So we have Aramco, Aramco Trading Fujairah Limited, which is a company owned by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Then the UAE has 2 companies. We have Emirates National Oil Company, and we have Abu Dhabi.
That is ENOC.
ENOC. Then we have Abu Dhabi National Oil Company Limited.
That is
Those,
ADNOC.
yeah. So, so this
So
company.
Aramco, ENOC, and ADNOC.
Yes. So the way the arrangement works, they had the option of doing the entire supply chain, so that they come here, we give them licenses, so that they import and also now offload the product to the local market.
So they distribute it.
They distribute. But then they said, we don't do local trading, we are international suppliers, so we will nominate representatives who will do it on our behalf.
So they are the ones who nominated now.
Yeah.
To do the business from this side.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we being government, because there's G2G, and you heard yesterday someone saying 1G is not G, we told them, you are government and we have signed a contract with you, why don't we nominate our own G, which is national oil? But these companies, of course, they do risk analysis, they also do vetting, and they also prefer to deal with people they have traded with in the past. So when we floated the name of National Oil Company, they said they've not had transactions of
With
that
them. So they did
nature.
have a,
And then we tried again to tell them, can we choose as government whoever you'll deal with, so that they can represent our G? Then they said, me, I'm putting a cargo worth $100 million in the sea, so how can I trust somebody who I don't know? So they said they cannot, they are the only ones who can nominate a counterparty. And that's how now the 3 companies initially came into place. So we had Oryx, Energies Limited, we had Galana, then we had Gulf. Then later on, they added another 3 companies, One Petroleum, they added Asharamis Energy, and they also added B Energy. So those are their nominees who now mitigate the performance risk for them. These are companies who had been supplying this market under the old regime, and they were dealing with those companies.
So they were already very conversant with the market.
They were conversant with the market. They were conversant with their counterparties. They knew the whole risk process had been done, and they knew these are people we can trust.
So now, that's a very good thing. Let me ask you now. So all this we are hearing is just Niporojo too. Yeah.
I think people don't understand how some of these complex transactions work. We are talking of a cargo. The other day we were talking of someone who had basically phantoms a cargo, I think 18 billion worth of a cargo, and they came with a paper which was proved to be fake. So you can imagine, if you are talking of a cargo worth that amount of money, 18 billion, even before the bank gives you a letter of credit, they have to do a serious vetting of who are we dealing with. It's the same thing that those refineries and those companies will do. Before they can trust you and say, we can send a cargo without you paying, based on a paper trust, we can send a cargo and then wait for payment for 30 days or 180 days.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, so what according to you, what then have been the benefits of the G2G to the economy and to the common wananchi?
One, it is stabilized the dollar to a great extent. I think the way the dollar was moving, the last time I checked, we were at 100. We did an exchange rate of palm pricing at almost 166. And the way the signs were, we were heading to 200. The dollar is a very critical component in our pricing, because we are buying our product. Our product is traded internationally in dollars. So you have to convert it to the local shilling for us to be able to price it. So imagine your forex depreciates from 150 to 200. So if you are multiplying 150 by maybe 3,000, then you start multiplying 200 by 3,000. That additional cost goes to It's mwananchi will pay for it.
Yeah.
So if the currency depreciates, it is a disadvantage to the economy. So it has stabilized it from that high of 166. We came down to 130, and I think the shilling has held at 130 for the longest.
Actually,
which I've
128, 129.
Yeah.
And in fact, what we are told is that it could even have gone up to 100. It's just that it's regulated.
Yeah.
And what about our
Yeah.
inflation? How has it affected that? What are the other benefits of the
The other
G2G?
benefit is the issue of security of supply of petroleum products. Initially, because the dollars were not available, product was not flowing as expected. And then, of course, basically in terms of macroeconomics, then we also released these dollars to other sectors of the economy. I think by the time G2G was coming in, the interbank trading was dead. Is actually because there were no dollars.
Yeah.
So now at least we have opened interbank trading, and dollars are flowing, and basically the economy is performing well. Yeah.
Very good. I think this is really good. So the naysayers and available kwa nasema oh mambo ya siasa hizo ni porojo. We can see the G2G is a game changer.
Yeah.
If another country can come to benchmark here, Malawi, and I'm sure that's not the only country.
Yeah.
And our dollar, actually, you know, engineer, our currency has been one of the 5 strongest globally, you know, coming only second to Argentina, you know, and we have not been able to default because now we were able to do, you know, proper, macroeconomic, you know, stability, and our economy has actually grown by 5.5% projected, and now we actually moved from number 8 to 6, in Africa, and also number 3 in sub-Saharan Africa because of such measures.
Exactly.
Now, how then do you explain this change in oil prices? Of course, we know every 14th, you've got to tell us how do you do the pricing, and how do you explain the recent, changes, and what measures did you take to ensure that we cushion the common mwananchi?
So one, we have oil in Turkana, but that oil, we cannot consume it the way it is. We need a refinery so that it can be converted to what is consumable. So, and we are actually not even producing that oil. We are yet to start producing. So we are a net importer of oil. So we basically import our product from the Middle East. Some of it comes from the Far East, that is Singapore, India. Some of it can come out of Europe. So we are subjected to what we call international prices of petroleum products. On 28th of February, there was this whole bombing of the Middle East. There was a war that erupted there. Tensions between the US, Israel, and Iran. And of course, you know that the Strait of Hormuz, where we get almost 20% of the world oil, there was a blockade there. So it means that we have taken 20% of the world demand out, world supply out, and the demand has remained constant. So it means first prices will start skyrocketing, and that has caused an impact on our pricing, because when prices go up by between 50 and 100%, it means that the resultant pump price we get will have increased. And that is why you saw, for example, if we did the actual calculation, like for super petrol, instead of the price now we are enjoying of 197, it would have been priced at 217. Diesel would have been at 200.
That's a difference of 20 bob.
Yeah. Diesel would have been at 236.
From the
196 now.
Right,
196. And remember, the last month's pricing, the last cycle, diesel was at 166.
Okay.
So we are talking of a difference of close to 70 shillings.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and this is all driven by the international price.
What about kerosene?
Kerosene,
which is used by most Kenyans.
We were at 152, but you see, the real price would have been 200 on almost 50.
250.
Yes.
So a whole 100 bob.
It was very high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the main driver of that increase in cost is the international price, because the global prices have increased. If you look at the barrel of oil, by February, we were
prior to 28th of February,
we were at $67 a barrel.
And now it is at
we are at 101.
Wow.
But within the month, we also hit 156.
Within the same month.
Yeah, because you see the highs and lows within the month.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the same effect will be transferred to the products.
That would have been
So there's a huge
from 6
jump.
to 156, that's more than double, almost.
Yeah.
Almost
There are certain instances
times,
during the month when the war is at its peak, you'll see the barrel is going to almost 160 because the crude we benchmark ourselves with is the one that ADNOC sells, which is called Marban crude.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so
so we've actually done extremely well.
That has a huge effect on the palm price, and that is the main driver of why you've seen the increase in cost. So government has put measures in place. So first, out of the petroleum development levy, they have given 6.2 billion so that we can stabilize prices. And then, of course, you know very well that VAT on petroleum was at 16%. It was reduced under the intervention of His Excellency to 13%. But of yesterday, another pronouncement was made by His Excellency. Let's reduce from 13 to 8%. That's why now you got some good breaking news yesterday.
Yes, actually that was very good. Watu wa maandamano wakakosa cha kusema.
Yeah.
Those people who are telling us that we calculate by 27. I think now it's over 36 shillings.
I was in another interview with another gentleman who was not very happy when he saw those breaking news.
You caught him off guard, huh?
Yeah, because super petrol decreased by 9 shillings and 37 cents, while diesel decreased by 10 shillings and 12 cents or thereabout. Yeah. Yes.
So how then do you do the pricing generally?
So the price constitutes the landed cost. So landed cost has the free on board cost, which is from the international market. Then we have the freight and premium, which I had explained earlier. Then there are some additions we do of war risk insurance. Then there are small ocean losses. Those are small numbers in there. And then we have port handling charges. When the vessel comes, KPA, there's a port handling charge. And then after the landed cost has been calculated, then we have the storage and distribution cost. This is the cost of storing it in Mombasa, piping it up country. And then we have the supply margins. And then we have taxes and levies. So taxes and levies this is what goes to government. So when we do all that, then we arrive at a price. And then, of course, taxes, you know, there are 9 taxes, including VAT.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you explain now, in comparison to our neighbors? I mean, what do you have to say? Some people are saying, oh, maybe they have cheaper oil price. I mean, how do you explain that?
Yeah, you could find some neighboring countries, their prices are almost equivalent to ours or even slightly below. But that can be explained by the pricing methodologies we have in Kenya and the taxation regime. In Kenya, where we'll price our products using the immediate previous month's pricing, these countries, some of them are pricing product using previous 2 months.
Okay.
So you find a country is now using the price of February and January to determine what will go to the palm price.
Okay.
While Kenya is using the March pricing.
Okay.
If you look at the difference
so
in
they
cost,
still have to catch up with it.
Yeah, so they will catch up. Their day is coming. But you see now this is being politicized. People trying to turn the script to say that we are more expensive. But they have not understood this is not comparing like for like. Yeah.
And so what about the road maintenance fuel levy? What do you have to talk about that?
Yes, so the road maintenance levy is at 25 shillings. And of course, initially it was at 18 shillings, but there was a securitization through government. Yeah, but of course, as we say, taxes are policy matters. And they are formulated through policy and legislative process. So wherever there's a need by government, so there are many things government looks at. Where can we source this money? And of course, Daktari, you have to understand that government is like your own household. There are development projects you have, there are recurrent expenditures you have within the house. So we have to balance all these things, and then when a budget is done, then government will ask itself, since I don't have natural resources I'm selling now, where else can I get this money? Otherwise, if that money is not taken by government, then you'll find a lot of things stalling.
So this 7 shilling has been securitized.
Yeah.
We got 175 billion, and we have been able to unlock, over 6,000 kilometers of roads.
Yes, exactly.
Really. So it's the same roads that Kenyans require.
Exactly.
585, projects. 220 billion in the road sector, and we imported actually a pending bills of 656 billion when we came in, because roads were all stalled.
Exactly.
So that money for anybody to really talk about the politics and what have you, I think that's really misguided. But then maybe before we come to get 1 or 2 questions, there's that whole issue of LPG. You are an expert in the area. What is our diversification plan? maybe in less than 30 seconds.
So government approved an LPG growth strategy in October 2023. The whole essence of the strategy is to transform people from the use of charcoal to the use of LPG. And there are many thematic areas government has put in place, including distribution of 10 million subsidized cylinders, LPG for schools. I think we want to convert the 11,000 schools that we have to the use of LPG.
Okay.
Then we also
watu wakule chakula ya gas, sio ya kuni.
and it's cleaner.
Yes.
In fact, we are losing over 14,000 Kenyans. I think I saw Kemri saying it's now 21,000 Kenyans every year because of indoor pollution. Sometimes people in the village, because they are using biomass, they get infections which they don't know where they are coming from. It's because of what they are inhaling. So I think there is a very good agenda of transforming. One, we'll save our forest, we'll have a healthier population. And of course, that aligns with the SDG
So what is the government offsetting to the end user, to the money?
So basically, the subsidized cylinder is a cylinder that would be funded by government. And of course, you know, His Excellency promised that at one point gas cylinders, so you'll be buying gas at 500 shillings. And this strategy is working towards that. And I believe it will be realized in the next few months.
Actually, I saw Taifa Gas setting up at the port there. Now, we want to get at least 2 questions, maybe one, and then one physical and one online because of time. So, yes, sir, please tell us your name, where you come from, and go straight to the question. Remove all those honorifics of protocol. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Daktari. My name is Ian Bet. I'm from Baringo County. And I think my question goes to the engineer. You've talked about security of supply. We know how petroleum is very essential in driving our economy. And as you've said, our suppliers are coming from the UAE. So what contingencies do they have to ensure that we have adequate stocks in the country to ensure that we continue running?
Thank you. Let's take question number 2 quickly. Please pass on the mic. We don't have time. Quickly. Please. Time is not on side. Then we come online. Be ready online on their side. Yes,
thank
quickly.
you so much. My name is Mark. Mine is to address the aspect of how you regulate the prices concerning fuel. Keenly, there is a concern if it is influenced either by professionalism or politics, because at times you'll see EPRA will raise the prices of fuel to up to 40 shillings, then they reduce it with only 3 shillings. Wakati wana reduce, you reduce it with 3 shillings, but munapandisha with a very high margin of around 30 to 40 shillings. So is it politics or professionalism?
Thank you. Finally, let's go online. Maybe one question from online. Please pass on the mic. You have less than a minute to finish. And then when you come back to you, engineer, you just also give your closing remarks as you answer those 3 questions. Yes.
Good evening, sir. The first question, what happens?
Only one question because of
yes.
time.
What happens after the end of the subsidy program?
That's a question from who?
Melvin Atieno from Eldoret.
Which media? Which platform?
From Facebook.
Okay. Over to you, engineer, in less than a minute. And you give us your closing remarks.
Thank you for those questions. I think the first question is around the contingency plan that we have for stocks. We've signed a master framework agreement with our international suppliers, and they are obligated to supply us regardless of the situations that are out there. So what our suppliers have done, instead of sourcing from the Middle East, and I'd explained earlier, they'll be sourcing from diversified markets, including the Europe, including the Far East, and also they are also loading more products from the Red Sea side. Instead of loading products on the Strait of Hormuz side in the Middle East, now they're exploiting the Red Sea side. But of course, there are many other mitigation measures that government is thinking about. We've just developed a strategic stocks regulation, whereby we can be able to invite a big player in Kenya to store petroleum within our ports, and then we have the right, the first right of use for that product. This is akin to what happens in other jurisdictions like Rotterdam or Singapore. I think the other question was, and of course that will assure security of supply. The other question was on the petroleum pricing and whether it is political or it is professional. Let me say it is very professional. And if I give you the formula today, you can be able to calculate the prices and arrive at the same price that me as a regulator has arrived at.
Okay, the final
The only
question online.
thing that can vary is the issues which deal with policy like taxes. If, for example, the policymaker decides, like they did yesterday, to reduce taxes, then that becomes something we implement. But the formula works seamlessly and is scientific. On the question of the stabilization or the subsidy, we have a legal notice and we have a funding mechanism for the subsidy. We are not consuming the entire subsidy. You heard yesterday that we could be having about 17 billion or 16 billion within our kitty, but now we are utilizing it responsibly, knowing that this situation may last longer, so that we...
So you're only using 6.2 billion.
Yeah.
So your final thoughts so that we can conclude?
So my final thoughts is just to assure Kenyans that our supply for petroleum products is stable, and the
G2G
is working perfectly. And our pricing has really saved this country in terms of the fixed premiums that we have, compared even to other jurisdictions. Thank you.
Haya, angalia pale kamera. Sema na Spox. Sema na Spox. Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo. Je, wewe? Mimi ni Mkenya mzalendo daima. Until the next edition of Sema na Spox, keep it right here on KBC and all our socials. Alamsiki. Thank you very much.